Välkomna tillbaka. Tack för att ni har väntat lite. Nu drar PS Invest igång med sin sista bolag i denna Mining and Exploration. Det är Mitch Vendryt, VD CEO för Northgold, ett bolag som haft en fantastisk IPO. Welcome, Mitch.
Thank you, Matt. It's good to be here.
Well, we look forward to hear more about Northgold and what you're up to. So the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mats. So Northgold is a gold exploration story in central Finland. My name is Mitch Vendryt. I've been the CEO for nearly 10 months after joining the company in July last year, before which I had spent my entire 13-year career in the metals and mining sector, which most recently included nearly 3 years at a top independent investment bank in Toronto as a publishing research analyst. Before that, I was an engineer for 10 years, working in industry on mine design, construction, and permitting. What first attracted me to Northgold and enticed me to leave my comfortable job at the investment bank back in Toronto were two main attributes that I'll focus on today. Number one, the quality and the advanced state of the assets. And number two, strong ownership backing by founding shareholders with successful track records. And I think these attributes should also translate to reasons for investors to buy the stock. I will, of course, be making some forward-looking statements today, so I would encourage you to read this disclaimer when you have a chance. This presentation will be available at our website at www.northgoldab.com. The contents of today's presentation are as follows. And this executive summary slide highlights Northgold's solid starting resource base of 725,000 ounces gold equivalent, grading 1.11 gram per ton gold equivalent, or 0.91 gram per ton gold, excluding the copper that happens to be associated with the gold mineralization in this region of central Finland's Middle Ostrobothnia gold belt, which is circled in red on the map. We like this belt in Finland because it's rather underexplored relative to the northern part of the country, where large companies such as Agnico Eagle and Rupert Resources have made major discoveries in the past. And we think similar potential should exist in Middle Ostrobothnia, where only the surface has been scratched comparatively. Our mineral resources are held across two project areas, which include our flagship Kopsa project and earlier stage Kamala Trend project, 50 kilometers to the north, both of which we plan to drill as part of our 2022 program that is set to begin this quarter. Kopsa holds the bulk of our resources and has conditionally approved mining permit that should help shorten the timeline to production. And our Kamala Trend project hosts a minority share of the mineral resources, but includes several other drilled and undrilled earlier stage prospects that require follow-up. We point out in this little table here that the bulk of our resources are in the measured and indicated category, which means they are fairly densely drilled, giving us already fairly high degree of confidence. With our inferred resources, which are characterized by more widely spaced drilling, making up only a minority share of our resources. And we think together, these projects offer solid exposure to both early and advanced stage gold exploration on a district scale land package in an emerging belt in a top jurisdiction, as well as exposure to a recently rising gold price. Some key investment highlights are shown here. Finland is consistently ranked the top mining jurisdiction globally by the Fraser Institute, with the most recent 2020 ranking shown in the chart here. And this ranking takes into account a combination of factors, including geology, policy perception, as well as labor force and infrastructure. Finland's also underexplored relative to other top mining jurisdictions such as Canada and Australia, after Finland didn't open its doors to foreign investment until 1996. And this foreign investment didn't really take off until the last decade or so, as highlighted in this slide, with key investments made by Kinross Gold in 2018, Centerra Gold in 2019, and Agnico Eagle in 2020. Our projects provide investors with exposure to a rising gold price that appears to be associated with the loosened monetary policy in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, and more recently also associated with the unfortunate ongoing war in Ukraine. Together, our projects make up a fairly dominant land package in Middle Ostrobothnia, where mineralization tends to be near surface, often outcropping or exposed at the surface, which should bode well for low-cost resource growth and new discoveries. And as mentioned, the company is backed by two solid groups with track records, largest shareholder Magnus Minerals is a Finnish geologic consultant and project generator with multiple existing joint ventures in Finland, including with major mining companies. And Starboard Global, an international mining private equity group that's been involved with numerous successful listings, including Euro Battery Minerals AB, which is also listed in Sweden and holds a project in Finland. Next, I will talk briefly about gold as a commodity and asset class. As mentioned, the gold price has performed well in recent months, rising roughly 6% year to date to around $1930 US per ounce currently. This is partly due to rising inflation, which in the US hit 7.9% in February after remaining above 5% since May of last year. Other factors that appear to be helping, as mentioned, include the unfortunate war taking place in Ukraine and some apparent uncertainty in the overall global equity markets. While there had been some buzz around Bitcoin as an alternative asset class to gold, we're hearing less about this recently as the Bitcoin price has been rather stagnant, and we'd like to point out that the value of Bitcoin in circulation is less than $1 trillion US, which is less than an order of magnitude, which is more than an order of magnitude lower than the value of gold produced through history at over $10 trillion US. Lastly, I'll mention Chinese consumption of gold was up 56% year over year last year, according to World Gold Council, with Chinese demand for gold expected to remain strong throughout 2022, despite potentially slowing Chinese economic growth. And next, we'll take a deeper dive into the North Gold story and its assets. This slide shows the big picture geologic setting of Middle Ostrobothnia Gold Belt. Significant investment on the Swedish side of the Gulf has resulted in numerous precious metals discoveries along Sweden's VMS and gold line trends, and we believe this prospectivity should extend over to the Finnish side along its Rahi-Ladoga trend, which has received less than 10% of the exploration investment received by the Swedish side, but has already yielded some discoveries shown in this map, including North Gold's largest deposits, Kopsa and Angisneva. Here we take a closer look at the belt where we're focused. Gold occurs throughout this emerging district, and North Gold holds two of the more significant projects that cover some of the more prospective areas. A couple other projects to point out are the Hersi Kangas project, the west side of the map, which is held by Rupert Resources, which is just a significant deposit in the area. And to the north, the top of the map, you have the Liva gold mine, which is held by Otso Gold Corp, which has 800,000 ounces gold and a 2 million ton per annum mill. And in the bottom right of the map, there's the Piasami mine, which is approaching depletion in the coming months to years, and is held by First Quantum Minerals, and it has a 1.5 million ton per annum mill. Our flagship Kopsa project is roughly a 500,000 ounce gold deposit, some of which is exposed at surface with several outcropping locations where gold is sticking out of the ground. The deposit remains open for growth both laterally and at depth, and also along separate parallel structures to the north and south of the deposit based on encouraging geophysics and base of till geochem results. Importantly, this project has a conditionally approved mining permit that's based on an outdated 2013 PEA, which contemplated toll milling. The PEA saw positive economics at a gold price of $1,200 per ounce and copper price of $2.72 per pound at a capex of $50 million US. Today, gold and copper trade above $1,900 per ounce and $4 per pound, which could suggest much improved economics today. We plan to drill Kopsa this year with the intent to grow resources, and then we ultimately plan to optimize the conditionally permitted project to help expedite development and production, provided we can find suitable toll milling arrangement and once we complete the necessary technical studies and finalize permitting. This next slide shows our other project, the earlier stage Kamala Trend project, which covers 15 kilometers along a prospective trend, which contains numerous gold resources and prospects that are associated with the regional fault structures striking to the northwest. The project hosts 7 granted exploration permits, 3 of which are drill ready and plan to drill this year, 4 of which are still undergoing public correspondence. And in addition to that, there's 2 additional exploration permits under application and 1 large reservation to the north. Kamala Trend's largest, most advanced deposit is Anjas Neva, which contains 3.85 million tons, grading 1.19 grams per ton gold for 147,000 ounces gold based on a 2010 estimate, and this is entirely in the indicated category. Much of this deposit is near surface, as shown in the block model. Drilling that fed into this resource estimate includes some attractive intercepts that are listed on the left. And while most of the intercepts have been shallow, broad, and moderately graded, there were also some encouraging higher grade, more discrete intercepts at depth where very little drilling has been done, including this 5.26 grams per ton gold over 15.1 meters from 273 meters depth, which shows potential for long life, high grade underground mining after the shallower, more open pittable material has been mined out. That being said, our initial drilling focus at Kamala Trend will be on the shallow drilling, which is typically lower cost, lower risk, and which we consider to be the lower hanging fruit currently, given the numerous prospects that we hold along this trend, some of which could grow into deposits similar to Anjas Neva. This slide highlights some of these other prospects at Kamala Trend, which are associated with the same northwest striking fault structure as Anjas Neva. Of the dozen or so prospects, most are already drilled with several intercepts grading over 1 gram per ton that require follow-up. A few of the prospects are undrilled and therefore could result in brand new discoveries based on encouraging past geophysics and geochemistry results. We plan to drill 2 of these prospects this year, Alakaila and Perta Neva, on the drill-ready tenements to the south, which could offer big upside to investors given their early stage. This slide outlines our near-term, medium-term, and longer-term objectives. In the nearer term, over the next 12 to 18 months, we intend to grow our flagship Kopsa resource and explore other prospects in Kamala Trend with the goal of increasing gold equivalent resources to 1 million ounces gold equivalent. If and when we hit that goal, we aim to pivot to our medium-term objective of optimizing the conditionally permitted Kopsa project with the goal of advancing it to a development stage through a possible toll milling arrangement with a local processing facility, while also continuing to grow resources and search for new discoveries. And ultimately, provided we meet these near-term and medium-term goals, we aim to advance Kopsa to production, which could fund significant further exploration, discovery, and consolidation of properties to further grow gold production in the longer term, potentially from multiple satellites across the belt. This slide reiterates our company resources, broken down by project. As shown, Kopsa hosts the lion's share, the majority of which are in measured indicated categories, with only a small share in inferred category. This slide summarizes market multiples of enterprise value per gold equivalent ounce resource for a range of listed gold explorers and developers. As shown, our selected gold explorer peer group average comes out at 69 euros per ounce gold equivalent, and the developer peer group average is 149 euros per gold equivalent ounce. North Gold closed yesterday at 70 Swedish kron per share, which corresponds to an enterprise value of 97 euros per ounce gold equivalent, based on our compliant resources of 701,900 ounces gold equivalent, which positions us, in the upper part of the spectrum for gold explorers and the lower part of the spectrum for gold developer peers, which we believe is justified given North Gold's assets are in the top jurisdiction of Finland, and also given the fairly advanced state of our near development flagship Kopsa project. And we see further upside potential over the next year coming from possible resource growth and new discoveries. We'll take a quick look at the team behind North Gold. Our board of directors includes appointed members from our 2 founding shareholder groups, including Henrik Lofberg, appointed by Magnus Minerals, for which he also serves as the operations manager, and Roberto Garcia Martinez, appointed by Starboard Global, who is also the CEO of Sweden-listed base metals company Eurobattery Minerals AB. The remaining 2 seats are held by senior geologist Timo Mäki, who has decades of experience working in Middle Osterbothnia, and who is credited with a major discovery at the Piasami mine. And our chairman is Otto Persson, who's a well-connected businessman in Sweden, founder and past CEO of Train Alliance, which also trades on NASDAQ First North Exchange. Management team is lean currently, includes myself as CEO, an experienced CFO contracted under a consulting arrangement, and our expert geologist board member, Timo Mäki, who steps up to help oversee exploration activities. I tend to wear a lot of hats currently, given the lean team and my diverse mining background, which covers engineering, environmental, mine permitting, capital markets, and investor relations. We would like to continue maintaining a lean team, relying on consultants to the extent we can, in order to help us minimize overhead cost and maximize exploration expenditures, which we think is the best way for exploration company to boost their share price. That said, we are currently looking at a couple key hires in Finland to help oversee exploration and permitting, which would allow our geologist expert board member, Timo, to take a step back from the company operations side. Next, we'll talk a little bit about exploration plans. Now, we've yet to release the details of our 2022 program, while we are currently working to finalize contracts with drilling contractors and geophysics contractors. But planning is underway with the help of our team of geo-consultants, and I wanted to provide some color on our initial plans, which are shown in the next two slides. Initial early stage work will include additional IP geophysical surveys at COPSA, according to the grid of the black dot shown, in order to help fill in gaps and extend chargeability mapped areas to help further guide drilling. These additional IP surveys will also allow us to develop deeper vertical profiles of chargeability mapping in search of new drill targets at depth where past drilling was limited. And our initial core drilling plans will be focused at COPSA first, in and immediately around the existing deposit, targeting continuations of existing zones and infilling of some poorly defined higher grade zones within the deposit, which we think will give shareholders the best bang for their buck in terms of adding resource ounces and getting the company closer to its company-wide target of 1 million ounce over the next 18 months. Lastly, we'll have a peek at the capital structure. As a new listed company, North Gold has an encouragingly tight cap structure with only 10.5 million shares out, roughly 1/3 of which are currently free trading, based on a share lockup agreement that requires the pre-IPO shareholders to lock up their shares for at least 12 months from the first day of trading. Company founding shareholders that I mentioned, Magnus Minerals and Starboard Global, together with their related parties, own 29% and 25% of the company respectively. Board and management are incentivized by their combined ownership of 9%, including 1.25% owned by myself. Aurora Exploration's another important shareholder, owning 6%. Aurora is a geo-consultancy owned, operated by Dr. Petri Peltonen, who's a respected university professor of economic geology at the University of Helsinki. Dr. Peltonen and his team of geo-consultants are currently helping North Gold with our 2022 exploration plans. Also worth mentioning is institutional investment fund Zenito Silver and Gold, which I understand is Finland's only precious metals fund, and which subscribed to roughly 2% ownership of the company during the IPO. And as shown in the chart on the top right, North Gold's share price has risen multi-fold since it began trading on March 24th, from the IPO subscription price of 11.6 krones per share up to the 50 to 70 krones per share range where it's traded in the recent days. Lastly, I'll give a quick recap of our 6 investment highlights. North Gold offers exposure to early and advanced stage exploration in a top jurisdiction of Finland. We have a dominant land package with district scale potential in an underinvested emerging belt. We have good local infrastructure, including roads to both project areas that connect to rail and port. We have high value mineralization due to it being near surface, which should have low discovery costs, and a low strip ratio should help making it suitable for open pit mining. We also we have the partially permitted or conditionally permitted COPSA project, which should help shorten the timeline to production there. And we have aligned founding shareholders, board and management with strong track records. And we list a few upcoming catalysts. As mentioned, we want to put an update, more concrete plans related to our 2022 exploration program. We plan to kick off 4,000 or 5,000 meters of drilling this quarter. And results of that will follow, likely beginning in the third quarter as the assays come back from the lab. And we may have a possible resource update around the end of this year. And yeah, thanks, Mats, for having me. That wraps up the presentation. Happy to take questions.
Well, thanks a lot, Mitch. That was a very interesting presentation. And once again, congratulations on a very successful IPO. As you mentioned, your share price has basically skyrocketed. Does that in any way change the way you will conduct business in the coming year? I mean, having your own strong currency like that?
Yeah, certainly it may. We priced the IPO low to get some to attract folks to it, and it worked out well because we didn't quite raise the full 43.5 million krones we were looking for. We came in around 91% of that, so we were happy with the price. And absolutely, we have a form of currency. The stock price has risen. As I said, we're looking at hiring people. That's going to be one potential change. We might grow the team a little bit. We also have flexibility now to do potential acquisitions in the area, although that's not currently a top priority as we have our plate full exploring our existing projects.
But one might want to take the advantage of such a strong share price to acquire and get good, even better momentum.
Absolutely, it's on our radar, and we'll always consider those options.
How does your capital needs look in the coming years, would you say?
Yeah, so we raised 39.6 million krones in the IPO. That's expected to last us for at least 18 months. And then we would want to, and we're targeting putting half of that into the ground as core drilling as a target. And I suppose we would want to maintain or grow that burn rate moving forward in the years to come through additional financings, etc.
Being a former analyst as you are, how should one consider and evaluate North Gold as a share? What kind of share is it, you think?
Yeah, we're currently a gold explorer, which are typically valued in terms of enterprise value per ounce in the ground. However, as mentioned, we also have early stage exploration component, which could have big upside in terms of new discoveries. And so I expect investors to value the stock as an explorer. That said, there is an old outdated PEA out there for COPSA, and we do hope in the future, in the coming years, to pivot into development mode, provided we can meet our resource growth goals. At which time, the stock may be valued as more of an NPV from the technical reports that may be prepared in the future.
Do you see any risks in your operations?
Yeah, technical risk is a big one, obviously, for mining. I have a background at working in engineering and preparing technical reports. So I'm a big believer in completing those reports, preliminary economic assessment, pre-feasibility study, feasibility study, and as you move along that path, you de-risk the projects. Of course, before that, you have resource estimates, and we intend to follow the Canadian standards of National Instrument 43-101. All of those things can help de-risk things technically. Labor risk is something on our radar. Getting the people as the company grows. Can we get enough people to do this? Now you do have, as I mentioned, Middle Osterbothnia is a historic mining belt, so there are folks around. Piasami mine is still producing, and that production may dwindle in the coming years, and it may free up some labor. So yeah, we're starting to look ahead to identify potential labor needs.
So you're not focusing on gold. Would silver be another asset you would look for?
Yeah, silver fits in nicely with gold as a precious metal, sort of one of those currency metals. There is some sign of silver being associated with the gold in the belt, as well as copper. We're targeting gold, but yeah, if we find silver or copper alongside it, we'll look at that also and incorporate it into our resources.
Okay, well, what time frame should one anticipate for actually starting to mining?
Yeah, so we want to, walk before we run here, Mats. Currently we're an explorer, and we're going to focus on exploration for at least the next 18 months. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I did outline on that slide, we do have medium and longer term goals. So in the medium term, the next 2-3 years, we would, provided we can meet our resource growth goals, we would like to pivot into development mode. And then perhaps beyond that, in the longer term, 3 to 5 years, we would like to potentially get COPSA into production through a toll milling arrangement. So we're currently an explorer, but we have charted a path, provided we meet our exploration targets, to pivot into development mode and then ultimately to production.
How sensitive are you for changes in the gold price, would you say?
As mentioned, the COPSA PEA from 2013, for example, was priced at $1,200. The price assumption back then was $1,200 per ounce. Now we're above $1,900. So I'm happy. Every day gold is above $1,700 in my mind is a good day for these projects, and so we have a little bit of room there on the downside. And frankly, I see more upside potential than down moving forward.
Good. Well, let's see here. We have a question, I think. They're thanking for your presentation. How does Northgold secure that you use the latest, most efficient technology to locate map and 3D when to do the pre-exploration?
Yeah, so we rely on consultants for that. One of the key consultants being one of our founding shareholders, Magnus Minerals. They have what we deem to be a top-notch geophysics team, and then they also further hire additional specialist consultants as needed. And then in terms of the geochemical sampling, we do that in-house through our geoconsultants, who we are working with now. We have a couple of them working on the drill hole planning and exploration plans. And they're top-notch folks also. So we're growing slowly, and we're going to control the speed that we grow such that we retain top talent in these areas.
Now you're in Finland. Can one think that you move into Sweden or Norway as a part of your expansion plans?
It could be possible. Currently our strategy is specifically Middle Ostrobothnia, Central Finland, specifically gold. There's not many other players in that region, so that's one of the reasons we like it. We would like to, like I said, explore our 2 projects, then potentially continue to consolidate the belt and possibly acquire more projects, perhaps in the longer term to get a hub and spoke production scenario going where you have possible several satellite pits that feed a central processing facility, something like that. As we grow, we may consider branching out into other jurisdictions within Finland and beyond, but not on our radar currently.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Mitch, for a very interesting presentation, and good luck in the future.
Thank you, Mats. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Så välkomna, tack så mycket för er som har deltagit i PS Invest och välkomna tillbaka.